You're listening to the Teach Better Talk podcast featuring expert educators eager to share progressive tactics to reach more students. Teach Better Talk is created by teachers and fueled by passion. Let's get started.
Hey everyone, welcome to episode 166 of Teach Better Talk. My name is Ray Hewart. And as always, I am with my musical friend, Jeff Gargis. How are you, Jeff?
I'm good. How are you?
Are you going to sing for me?
No, but that's like the nicest one I've gotten in a long time.
Oh, you're so dramatic.
What's wrong with you? Are you sick? Are you okay?
No, I'm not
Is something
sick.
wrong? I'm very worried about you right now.
Stop it. I really want you to play an instrument or sing for me. That's really all I want for my Monday.
Maybe someday.
Someday, not today?
Maybe on your birthday one year.
Hold on. My birthday just passed. I have to wait a whole nother year for this?
Well, yeah, that's if I do it next year. I said 1 year, not 1 year from now. Like some year, sometime down the road. It's probably never going to happen.
Bummer.
But it might happen. Maybe it'll happen.
Either way,
we'll see.
How are you doing since you're worried about me?
I'm great. I'm doing awesome. I got introduced in a nicer way today, which just makes my day great.
You're so dramatic.
We just had an awesome podcast recording. I get to record tonight with the amazing Joshua Stamper. We're doing another mailbag episode of the Aspire Leadership Podcast. So if you're not subscribed to that, make sure you subscribe to Josh's podcast and join us. That's awesome.
I'm on strike from his podcast.
Why are you on strike? Oh, because last time
I submitted a question, and my question was read, and I was picked on. So therefore, I'm no longer watching. Sorry.
But your question was to ask me who wasn't to ask who my favorite Teach Better team member was? Yes,
and I don't know why I wasn't selected by either of you.
Who did he pick?
He picked. Oh, was it Kate? Oh, it was you. He picked you. Yeah, he picked you.
Yeah, he did.
Which is not fair.
That's my boy, Joshua. Who did I pick?
You picked Michelle.
I did pick. Well, but I think that's fair.
Well,
if it makes you feel any better, Michelle probably picks on me worse than anyone. So, she's got your back.
That's true. Well, either way, all I know is that I'm a big Joshua Stamper fan, but I am not listening to his podcast right now on strike.
Okay, fair enough. I get it. Yeah. Moving on. So, speaking of not anything that we were talking about, I was hoping that you could share some information with us. So you kind of went on a write-in rampage this weekend, and just doled out some serious awesomeness with writing a bunch of blogs that were part of a series that we're putting out, and a couple of our amazing writers joined in with you. And we just on Sunday, so just a few days ago, launched is it six-part series?
6-part series.
Six blog series. Boom, 6 blogs in one day out, because apparently 4 a week wasn't enough. So we put out 6 more on Sunday, all very, very timely, related to what's going on in the world right now. So would you mind, anyone who hasn't maybe visited teachbetter.com recently, can you share sort of what we covered in these 6 blogs?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I was writing these blogs based on what all of you, our listeners here, or members of our network and other avenues have been asking me about. And I really feel like we've been in this space right now where we're trying to figure out remote learning and navigate that space. And still, I don't think that anybody's perfected it. We're all trying to find the best way to support and track and monitor and help our students. But on the flip side, I was really reflecting with some educators earlier this week on what's after this phase. What happens after remote learning either ends, thankfully, or when we feel like we have our feet under our belt, what's coming next. And so a lot of the blogs I wrote and the blogs that our guest bloggers shared were focused on that idea. So we decided to call this blog series Back to Better, or Come Back Better is what we phrased it. And the few ones that we shared out was the right message we need this August. So talking about what we feel like administrators should be sharing out to kind of refuel and restart fall of 2020. We shared out 5 elements we learned and cannot forget from remote learning. So this had to do with what we learned in remote learning and how that's going to translate into the physical classrooms that we head back to. One of my favorites was I wrote a blog about fluff ain't enough, but it has a time and place. So I know a lot on this podcast, I always show up that fluff ain't enough, but I really feel like it does have a time and place as we head back to the classroom in the next few months. So that was kind of a message for our administrators finding the right way to bring back teachers. The others, we have one that's about creating a student tracking page with our triage system, trying to break that down for educators who are trying to find better ways to manage their students. And then these last two by our amazing guest bloggers, Jacqueline Goodburn wrote about supporting teachers as they navigate through remote teaching and learning. And the amazing Amanda Post wrote, Be There, Your Students Need You Now More Than Ever. So that 6-part series has a bunch of different avenues. There's some for teachers, some for administrative leaders, and kind of everything in between. So we were thrilled to offer those up as a blog series on Sunday.
That's awesome. And both Jacqueline and Amanda are so awesome all the time with what they bring to their classrooms, to the communities, to our network, and especially over to the blog over on teachbetter.com. So that's awesome. So make sure you check that out. I've been so just thrilled, honored. I don't even know what the words are looking for with how amazing our writers, how our team and our guest writers have done with the shift of this, really trying to make sure that we're putting out relevant, valuable information right now. So huge shout out to them. Really, really excited about that. And to you, Ray, you put in a lot of work. I really appreciate you every now and then.
Well, you know what? Every so often I can write a blog. No, I'm excited. I actually wrote a few more that aren't being released right away. So those will come with time. But I just really want to make sure that no matter what type of educator you are going to teachbetter.com, they're able to find something that can help you be a little better today than you were yesterday and a little better tomorrow than you were today. My favorite part though, Jeff, I know this is silly, but in those blogs, because we embed like tweets that people can share out about the content and things like that, having those shared and being tagged by teachers or administrators who are reading and, really interacting with that content is so fun. So I always love to see people's reactions, people's thoughts, and the new approaches that they're taking because of what they're consuming over at teachbetter.com. So it's always exciting.
Awesome. I'm loving it. Speaking of things that I love this episode of the podcast.
It was a good one.
That was a good mix, wasn't it? This was a really cool. I'm like super pumped up about this episode because I love what Austin Martin is doing. So if you don't know Austin, he's the creator and the founder of Rhymes with Reason. And this is he describes it as an online vocabulary and literacy centered learning tool that's powered by students' favorite music. And so I got super pumped up about this because what he's doing is he's taking the music that students love, the music that students turn to figure themselves out, to learn, to grow, to vent, to find their emotions, and he's connecting it to literacy and vocabulary. And I mean, the way he got there, the reasoning for it behind it, I couldn't possibly love more. What he's trying to do with it, his kind of viewpoint on it, what he's connecting it to, and the success that they're seeing, to me, is just so cool. It's the reason why, places like Bloomberg, NPR, Education Post, Huffington Post, and the list goes on, have talked about it. Chance the Rapper got behind it and has done some work with them. And then Austin was also featured and selected as one of the Forbes 30 under 30 in education, and for good reason. What he's doing is super powerful, super important, and I think just awesome. And I thought this episode just very in-depth, thoughtful answers and ideas that he has, and I'm just super pumped for everyone to listen and to learn and grow with him. Anything from you, Ray, before we dive into this?
No, I just want to share, you should not only be enjoying this podcast, but I hope you go visit the website that has a ton of tools for educators and for parents. Yes. So I think this is an opportunity for us to be a little bit better. So go check all of it out.
I love it. With that, let's get in episode 166 with Austin Martin.
Hey everyone, we're going to get right back to the episode, but I wanted to make sure you had the details of what the team is continuously doing to support all of the educators that are striving to reach their students at a distance. Now, while we will continue to push out content like blogs, podcasts, free downloads, and online courses to support you, we wanted to do more. So you can meet our team live Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday in our private Facebook group at 7 a.m. Central, 8 a.m. Eastern for a daily drop-in. During this time, we'll be providing PD for all educators and answering your questions to make sure you feel supported. We'll meet you over in our private Facebook group. You can request to join at teachbettergroup.com or simply by searching Teach Better Team on Facebook. We'll meet you there. Now, let's get back to the episode.
All right, we are here. We are chatting with Austin Martin. And Austin, man, it's super exciting to have you on here. Really excited to dive into your story and hear about just sort of how you got to where you are and whatever you've done to be here and what you're doing right now. I think what you're doing is really, really cool. I'm really excited for people to kind of learn about you and learn what you're doing with Rhymes with Reason and everything that you're doing in education. But before we dive too far in, man, how you feeling right now?
Feeling pretty good. It's this virus and this period is absolutely crazy. It's a real blend of emotions, for sure. But feeling optimistic, because that's kind of the formula for an entrepreneur and somebody that builds a dream is that optimism is in our DNA. So right now, just leaning on that very heavily during this period.
Yeah, I totally get it, Austin. I'm really excited to learn about all the things that you're doing. But in case our listeners maybe aren't connected to you yet and all the work that you're doing in education, would you mind kind of answering the simple question of when somebody asks you, what do you do? How do you typically describe yourself?
Yeah. So, I guess who I am and what I do. I'm the creator and founder of Rhymes with Reason. And what Rhymes with Reason does is we are a web-based or an online learning app that teaches students academic vocabulary, builds literacy skills, and also helps prepare students for standardized exams using students' favorite songs. So what that looks like is, let's just start with the vocabulary part. Students will learn an SAT word or a Common Core word that's in a Drake song on our platform, and they'll be able to listen to how Drake uses that word in context. And in terms of the contextual instruction, that's where we break into standard-based literacy skill building. So there's different exercises that drill down what the word means, how it's used. It's all aligned with different state standards, and ultimately helps prepare students for success on standardized tests. And more important than that, makes learning relevant for this generation of student. So that's what we do with Rhymes with Reason. And our mission statement as a company is to build confidence in young people by highlighting the brilliance that lies within what they already know and love. So our mission is to illuminate these gems that are already in the knowledge domain of most students out there and empower them to know that these things that they already know are gems, and they also can be purposed for success in school. So that's what we really do.
So I love what you're doing with that, and I'm really interested into hearing about, and I'm hoping you can share with us sort of the story of how did that start? Like what triggered that in your head? Where you're like, all right, this is what I need to do. This is how I need to reach my students. Like how did that come back? Can you kind of share the backstory of how this all started?
For sure. So I'll start from when I was a young person, a young student. I was into two things growing up. Number one was music, particularly hip hop music, and also basketball. But I studied hip hop music like I should have been studying for school, and I studied the lyrics just like a book, and wanted to know what every double entendre meant, and wanted to understand how all my favorite artists, what made them so great. And like in doing this deep dive, it was their ability to use words well, their ability to describe imagery, things they've seen, describe emotions, their knowledge base of culture, and their ability to put that into a format that was palatable to the ear. Was fascinating to me. And in this study of this work that is like, accessible to every person from every cultural background in the world, I developed a sense of vocabulary. I developed a sense of figurative language that eventually served me. Eventually. It's like, so I guess I didn't answer this part, but I was not a great student up until about ninth grade. But really because I was so like invested in like things that didn't have to do with like the 5 academic subject area possibilities. But as I got older, again, like the knowledge that I had cultivated started to kind of seep into my academic motivation and my academic experience. And I started to see a connection that like, oh wow, like, Jay-Z, I mean, I'm in history class, like, who's John Rockefeller? Okay, Rockefeller Records. Or, the way that he's putting words together, the way that he's using simile is the same way that you're asking me to use simile and examine simile in English class. So, that's what kind of made that connection. And I matured as a young person and went from a not great / average student to a great student, and was accepted to Brown University by the end of my high school tenure. And once I was at Brown, I decided that I wanted to bring that same spark that I had to as many young people across the country as possible. And I remember being at Brown, and I always had this idea that I wanted to do this, but I really took this idea seriously when I looked at the top 100 words in the SAT, and I found 67 out of those top 100 words in just like popular music. And I was like, whoa, okay, like let's zoom out and imagine if we expand that 100 to 1,000, right? Are we talking about 670? And ultimately the word bank is infinite. So that's what kind of started Rhymes with Reason, is really like words within music. But then we started delving into bigger themes and larger, implications of like lyrical music that can help students in a more meaningful way.
I love that. So I don't know if I spent quite a decent bit of my life actually in the music industry. Had a small record
Really?
label and managed artists. Actually managed a couple hip hop artists and neo soul artists, and
Okay.
so like I just love the fact that you made that connection so young. That's something that I didn't do. I was distracted when I was in school by my obsession with music,
Yeah.
and stuff. But I didn't make that connection. I think so many young people who do turn to music for comfort,
Mm.
for a release, and maybe even for that sort of guidance of where they're going to go with their life. I don't know if they make that connection. So I love the fact that you're helping young people see that this thing that might have started as an escape piece for them, or
Mm.
a safety piece for them, also connects to this thing that they don't feel connected to, which is school, right?
Mm.
And so I love that you're connecting that. That's really, really cool.
Thank you.
I'm like pumped up with it. This is really cool. I'm loving it. So so I want to
Appreciate
dive in. One of the things we do talk about on this podcast a lot is failure and sort of learning from
Mm.
that. I always talk about how I've been fortunate enough to fail a lot because I've
Mhm.
learned from all that. So can you share a story with us about a time you've had a failure and kind of take us there with you? What happened? How'd you overcome it? And what'd you take away from that experience?
I mean, so it's so funny. I almost, just for me, I almost don't like using the word failure, because failure implies something definite. I know you're not saying it that way, but this is just how I think about it. It's more struggle. It's more a lesson that eventually turns into something if you handle it in a certain way, can turn into something positive. But getting a no or not immediately succeeding can certainly turn into um, something positive. It's just no very often means doesn't mean absolutely no. It means later, and I've experienced that a lot. So I mean, going back to the previous story that I just told, early on I struggled in school. By and you could argue that the average grades or the times that I failed tests, that was failure, but ultimately it led me to where I am today. Um, we've bootstrapped Rhymes with Reason. We've actually had investment offers, but we have turned them down for a multitude of reasons, just largely to keep the purity of our product. But I say that to say, like, even we've had a few offers, but we've gotten rejected. Like, we not in well, not I guess not in terms of investment, but different grants and different opportunities that we've applied for, and different ways that we've tried to grow our company. People have said no repeatedly, and said, not at this time. But it's just like, persistence, and if you really believe in something, no doesn't mean no. Like it means later, like try it later. And I think that that's maybe the number one most important thing as an entrepreneur, a creator, somebody that's trying to help society. Because like there's the reason that these problems that we try to deal with and try to fix exist is because they're not easy to solve. So there's going to be no's, there's going to be resistance, there's going to be challenges. You just have to push through. There's a fellowship that I'm in right now. I was elected as a fellow in 2019. This thing called Echoing Green. It's a social impact fellowship. But I've been applying since I was 21 or 20. So 3 years, got rejected 3 times. And I think the fourth try, it was either the third or the fourth try I got in. So, but I never said, hey, forget Echoing Green, it just kept going. So, it's that type of attitude that I think is required to solve problems.
Absolutely. Could not agree more with that. So let's flip it around now. Let's talk about a success that you've had, a successful moment. This could be big or small, but tell us what happened. Why was it a success for you? And then what did you take away from that?
Yeah, one thing that there's a lot, but one thing that stands out to me is we launched an initiative with Chance the Rapper's nonprofit, Social Works, in 2019. And we're slated to do the same this year in 2020. But I just remember in first starting out this idea, just envisioning working with artists and artist foundations, and collaborating in philanthropic endeavors with my favorite artists. And this whole journey again started when I was a young kid, looking up to some of my favorite artists. So doing a joint initiative with them where we released our product to 1,000 kids in Chicago. And we customized our product together and did this co-branding piece. It was really, really cool. And we worked really, really hard to put that together. I think we worked in about 100 schools in the last couple years. I was selected as one of Forbes 30 under 30 in education. These are all successes that I'm really proud of. Number one, because it's not it's not the Forbes thing is funny because it's not it's like I got I had a certain net worth to get in it, but it was I got in Forbes off of education. I thought that was really cool to be recognized on that level for for service. And those are the things that I'm most proud of, is having achieving something really great. But me doing it in service for service, and for education. So those are some of the things I'm really proud of.
Austin, I really love that, all of the work that you're doing now was sparked from you wanting to find purpose and relevancy and fun in the classroom. I think that all these different parts of the things that you've been able to build to support students and education is so incredible, because you're able to take something that students already enjoy. I cannot tell you how often teachers ask me, I don't know how to motivate my students. They're not interested in what I'm teaching. And I love that you are finding relevancy and true engagement by connecting with our students through this avenue. But I have to know, geez, you've been doing this for a while. You're obviously extremely successful. We go on and talk about the amazing impact you've had. But what's really keeping you excited right now about education and everything that you're doing? What's really fueling your fire?
I would say that, a couple things. I'll say, I think one thing that I would say is emblematic of me and emblematic of Rhymes with Reasons is that and I also think is kind of the future of education. We're just on the precipice of it, is hybrid things that are hybrid. So Rhymes with Reason, it's education technology, it's culturally relevant learning, it's like ELA, and then we're adding in some language acquisition. I have this term that I like where I say generationally relevant as well. So it's like a hybrid of all of these things at once. And we're thinking about ways of making it even more hybrid, thinking about ways to integrate social media, all kind of different things. But I'm really excited for that. I think that as like a society, we're, and I think, I just think that there's this opportunity to just combine things that work, like cross-culturally, cross-domain, and to use that in education. It's like really, I think, a really new thing, but I'm excited because I feel like my company is at the forefront of it. But I'm interested to see that continue to take shape in education. So.
Absolutely. No, that totally works. So when you're listening, we have listeners right now, these are educators that are anywhere from, brand new to the classroom, or they've been in education forever and they're, close to retirement, but they don't want to retire because they love school so much, right? Like every single educator has their own story and pathway. And when you think about the advice that you might offer a teacher, what would be your best piece of advice that you feel like teachers should consider as they are striving to reach all of their learners?
Yeah. So it's really funny because one of the biggest learnings from my story with Rhymes with Reason, even this goes back to the question about failure and challenges, is the power of iteration. The power of, like, when you create something at first or you implement something at first, it's not going to be perfect. You're not going to get it completely right. So when I first came up with Rhymes with Reason and created our first prototype, it was 1/32 of what it is now. And it's taken a bunch of time to think about all the different stakeholders, all the different evolving needs of, students, teachers, administrators, all these things to create what it is now. So, it's taken a lot of time to do that. And so what I would say for teachers is, be iterative. Like, your students are like your product. They're your end user. So take time, like if you have a lesson plan or whatever you're implementing, tweak it according to how your students are receiving it. Get feedback, improve, revolve the experience around the end user. That's what I would say, and be willing to iterate over time.
I love it. It's that design model, just constantly tweaking, constantly learning, listening, and changing. So I love that. Let's have some fun with these next 6 here. We're going to try these next 6. Your goal is to answer each one of these questions 15 seconds or less. You ready to go?
Yep.
All right. What is one ed tech tool you cannot live without?
Rhymes with Reason.
Give us a book you're reading right now.
Grit by Angela Duckworth.
Who do we need to follow on Twitter or Instagram today? You can give us up to 3.
Okay, definitely all of Rhymes with Reason's socials. Paulo Coelho. I'll just go with those 2.
What's a good YouTube channel or website for educators that is not Rhymes with Reason?
Oh man,
we know that's a good one, so we're gonna send them there anyway. Where's somewhere you go? Where do you go for inspiration?
Quizlet.
Like it. Give us a daily, weekly, or monthly routine every teacher should get into.
Student surveys.
And lastly,
every month, once a month.
Gotcha, I love it. Give us the best piece of advice you've ever received.
Ask for advice, and actually, I think it's what I said earlier, that there's no in business and pursuing your dream, there's really no such thing as no. It's really a later. It really just means not right now, but later.
Yeah, I love that. No doesn't mean no forever. It's just not right now. Yeah. I love it.
Well, and I think that connects back to education so much too, because that can not only apply to resources that we want to be able to use, connections we want to be able to make to students. I mean, all these different things that teachers strive to do that may not go perfectly doesn't mean you shouldn't ever try it again. Just maybe not in this immediate moment with this immediate student. Let's try it in a few weeks. Let's continue to build relationships. Let's try again. Absolutely. But, I think that's so perfect for educators listening and for those who have side hustles and business as well.
No question. No question.
So, Austin, I want to make sure that our listeners can connect with you and all that you're doing for education. I know a lot of educators are going to be running to the site to make sure that they provide some support for their students right now during remote learning, but also when they head back to their classrooms and we finally get the opportunity to be back with our students. So how can people get connected? Yeah,
so go to rhymeswithreason.com. There are a couple options on there. One is you can get a department level package or a school level package where each student user gets covered, and there's like a teacher dashboard and progress monitoring system. There's also an individual teacher subscription, and we are launching tomorrow a custom COVID-19 at-home home study subscription for students to just use like independently. So check that out.
Very cool. And you can find all the links, all the resources, and everything we talked about in this episode over at teachbetter.com. So make sure you jump over there and check out the show notes for all the links to catch up what's going on with Rhymes with Reason and everything that they have going on. So everything is over at teachbetter.com. Be sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss any of the upcoming episodes. And if you can give us a rating and review, we'd really appreciate that as well. Let's keep taking this one step further. Think of just 3 of your colleagues who need to hear these amazing stories and share this podcast with them. Austin, this was awesome, man. I'm so happy that you were able to come on and share your story. I love what you're doing. I'm so excited to continue watching it grow and increase the impact that it's having. I'm excited to see where you take it, what you guys do with it. So just really, really appreciate your time, man. Thank you.
Of course. Thank both of you so much. Stay safe and have a good rest of your week.
And until next time, let's get out there and let's teach better.